This now is the chairman of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, member of the Appropriations and Budget Committees, Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Senator, it's good to see you. I know you're opposed to the bill. You voted against it in the Senate. But what do you make of the argument that cutting the corporate tax rate down to 21% will spur businesses to invest, will spur businesses to hire? And in fact, the White House and Republicans would point you to companies like AT&T, Boeing, and Comcast, our parent company here, as having already done so in reaction to that bill.
Well, a couple things. We know trickle-down economics doesn't work. We tried it with the Bush tax cuts. The only thing that went up were the paychecks of the very, very wealthy and the national debt. The reality is what Republicans promised repeatedly with respect to their latest version of trickle-down is that workers would get a $4,000 pay increase, permanent pay increase, and so over a 10-year period, that would be $40,000. We're going to be asking every 6 months whether people got their $4,000 annual raise throughout this period. It's not coming, I'm afraid to report. In fact, the Democrats offered an amendment during this process that would have assured that that money from the corporate tax cut went down to workers on a regular basis. Republicans said no. At the same time, millions and millions of middle-class Americans will see a tax increase in the coming year, and that's to pay for this gigantic corporate tax cut. And by the way, we also add over $1 trillion to the national debt, which comes to $1,500 a year for every income tax-paying household in America.
So how do you?
That is a bad deal for the country.
We can talk about AT&T obviously has a pending deal coming. That might be a strategic move from them. But how do you respond to all these other companies saying yesterday, because of what passed yesterday, they are now investing back. They are going to give out bonuses. They're going to hire people. They're going to invest more money. Are those all PR stunts, or why do you think they're doing it?
I think they are doing it as a PR stunt because the question will be, these are some one-time bonuses. Sounds very nice, but that was not what was promised. What was promised was a $4,000 a year pay increase into the base. And that is why you see union members going to these corporations and saying, look, thanks for the one-time bonus, but that is not what was promised as part of this tax cut. So at the same time you see those one-time bonuses, in the last couple of weeks you've seen reported $87 billion in stock buybacks. So that's money going to the shareholders. And I want to remind people that 35% of those stockholders are foreign stockholders. And so in the year 2019, $48 billion is going to go into the pockets of foreign stockholders, coming out of the pockets of millions of middle-class taxpayers. That is not America first. And people are onto this, and the more they see it, the more they'll hate it.
Senator John Hollen here. I want to ask you about health care, just because, as you noted, as everybody has noted yesterday, President Trump just sort of threw in, hey, by the way, we not only passed a giant tax cut, but we also got rid of the Affordable Care Act. It's not exactly true, but they did get rid of the individual mandate in this. So I want you to ask you two related questions. One, what are going to be the short-term immediate effects of getting rid of the individual mandate in terms of health care in America? And second, and relatedly, you got the CHIP program also, which is now expired. And I believe that, according to some forecasts, we're going to start seeing thousands of people losing their insurance on January 1st. So just talk about the immediate health care effects of those two combined elements of what's happened over the last few days.
Yeah, both very bad news for health care in America. Getting rid of the individual mandate, which says that we're all in this pool together, so that we don't have what Republicans used to not want to have, was people getting health care for free, essentially, or showing up at the emergency room and having to go into higher premiums for everybody else. So what that will mean is for the people in those health insurance exchanges, they will pay 10% more in the premiums, which have already been going up because of other things the Trump administration has done. And according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, you'll have 13 million fewer Americans with affordable health care at the end of the story here. Now, with respect to the Children's Health Insurance Program, you're absolutely right. The authorization expired in September, and we need to address that issue. We should not have been taking care of all these big corporations at a time that children's health insurance is expiring, community health centers are running out of money, and many other priorities that we've got.
Susan. Senator Susan Del Percio, we obviously heard from the Democratic side how this is the worst possible tax bill ever, but we know that Democrats did support some of the things that are in there. So specifically, what would it have taken to get you on board to this bill? What weren't the Republicans able to offer you? And what would you take out specifically?
So first of all, we don't think a middle-class tax cut should raise taxes on anybody in the middle class. This will raise taxes on millions of middle-tax households around the country. We don't think you should have a windfall corporate tax break. We've supported corporate tax reform done in a way to make sure that some companies don't pay the full freight and other companies pay zero. There are lots of ways to address that without this big corporate giveaway.
Like what?
So, for example, you get rid of some of the tax loopholes that are in the corporate tax code, and you do it in a revenue-neutral way. The Obama administration, in fact, put a number of proposals on the table that were very reasonable when it came to corporate tax reform. We also don't think that we should provide a big tax windfall to the very wealthy in this country. Millionaires under this Trump plan will get an average annual tax cut of $70,000. At the same time, we're piling on another $1 trillion of debt to American households throughout the country. That doesn't make sense. So our view was, let's have a bottom-up, a middle-class up tax proposal, not a top-down, trickle-down proposal. This is all about trickle down, and the reality is every time they've tried this, what happens is the folks at the very top essentially pocket almost all the money. Other people get a little bit. Of course, under this plan, even those who get a little bit, it's temporary. It goes away at the end of the day, while the corporate tax breaks are forever.
Senator Van Hollen, it's Josh Earnest here. In less than 48 hours, both the House and the Senate have to pass funding bills in order to keep the government open. They're going to need Democratic votes in order to keep the government open. What are Democrats insisting on to support this bill?
Look, my view is we should stay here and get our work done. We spent 2 weeks on a bill that is a big corporate tax giveaway. It's going to benefit the biggest corporations and the wealthiest Americans. We should deal on a permanent basis with the Children's Health Insurance Program. I don't see why people have to go week to week wondering if they're going to lose their access to affordable health care. We should permanently fund the community health centers. We should also deal with the issue of dreamers who President Trump has threatened to deport. So there are all sorts of things that we should get done. My view, we should stay here and get it done. We should not have wasted the last 2 weeks on a bill that the American people don't like, and they're going to really hate it when they see their household debt going up. Or the alternative to that will be Republicans coming back next year and cutting Medicare, cutting Medicaid, cutting Social Security, because next year they're going to rediscover the fact that they just added trillions to the debt.
Senator Chris Van Hollen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And up next, one of Senator Van Hollen's colleagues on the Budget Committee, Republican Senator Bob Corker, joins us. Plus, a lot happened this year. We're going to take a first look at the AP's top 10 stories of 2017. Morning Joe will be right back.